I will not go through the introduction to the speaker here because you would have read about her and you could sense the person she is. Let me start with the first question for Parveena ji, which is, we understood what happened here to this FIR and his family. But could she say more about her own story? What human wrongs have happened to her and what prompted her to join the struggle?
I want to the resolution of Kashmir one story I said It started in 1990s. There was a militant in the locality. His name was also Javed, and her son's name was also Javed. And there was a crackdown, like the Indian forces had got into the area, and they were searching for Javed. So Javed, Parveena's son, was studying in 10th class. He had just passed 10th class, and he used to stay at his cousin's place to study. And he had gone, at that day he had also stayed there for the night and had not come back. So before the azan, morning azan, somebody knocked on their door and told Parveena ji's husband that there was a cordon in the area, and but don't tell Parveena that Javed has been taken. She says she heard it after a while, but she thought like okay, they take people from around the area, but they take them and then they release them after a point of time. So they will do the same. And in the morning she went out on the road. So for like 10-20 days they started, she was like trying to search for her son. She went to the police stations and the local thanas. And after a point of time, she met this SP and who told her that her son is at the, it's a military hospital. So she told her that that Javed is at the military hospital and he is slightly injured, but we will release him.
FIR treated the good, treated the boss. Mother source of no name. Got the underwear. Hamster was then to a power of the but to play with power to the past, they make some good, they make some pass. If they like their work, the port of pass is for the
So she said that he was taken without any clothes, he was only wearing his undergarments, and the Indian forces actually took clothes from a neighbor and gave it to Javed. And for three times the state police gave her the vehicle and told her that she should go here and there, but she couldn't find.
I don't know what they and who saw. So stick with the ball. Make sure you are at it, you have it. So I'm so bad. Then to the last quarters,
So, just to add to the last point, like she was given passes by the state police, and what she did, like she actually got a photostat of that pass, and so that she could use it like as a, as a proof in future, like yes, the police was actually accepting that he is with us, and then she went to SP.
SP control, then you here go to the quarters, second quarters, what I do on anything.
And then she went to the SP, the superintendent of police in the locality, and he told her to file to go to the local court to file an habeas corpus petition, and they will help you.
90 months, 40 years, 92 months, they got in the money. The theaters, Mahanati is Gawi, Sari is Gawi, Timango, Jayankar, in Gawi, book them the Khan, Java, because of the Mabana,
They filed a petition in 1991, and the court gave a decision in 1992, and where they actually asked the witnesses from the local locality, and she also went to the jails where they had, I think, set up a committee where they went to the local jail in Jammu, and both Jammu and Srinagar. And in Jammu, Srinagar, where they also actually testified that yes, he was taken by the Indian forces.
बाद में कोर्ट में कुकर में रेडिएशन क्वार्टर में तो चैलेंज क्वार्टर में बैठा तो कार्य जो ताकत इनका वो है वो प्रो बात तो ऐसे ध्यान दसान कैसे एमएलए को महमूद रहमान उसको मनीटर जो क्या ना कोई जो फायदा से भी ऐसे दसान पाते विमान मान के खर्चा ऐसे तो होगा आई तो सोना आँख में जो खाना व्यापक सोना में जो बाकी व्यापक सोना में जो वो ऐसा कहने से एक्सपांड में दसान सोना इकोनॉमी उसके शुरुआत हुई उसने लगता है
she said like after a point of time, like they also went to the local MLAs, the local the MLAs and local authorities, where she would also meet other people whose sons were taken away, or husbands or fathers. So they would meet, and they would kind of like meet and get together and feel like okay, they formed a sort of an informal group at that time.
I told him that was my thing. That is that I was super strong. The Mrs. Piana Tamam Intervention Center, Papa Topa, Mama Helena was there. I think Harper Intervention Center. Aku sewa usia tinggi karena patut minimum bangun usia aku. Aku saya buat kita masuk ini pusat APDP ni mana? Pusat ini mesti ada. Kalau patah satu saya patut silakan biar kita silakan ni sulah patah patut ko berbagai macam jawab mungkin ini memang berada. Ini sosial sih. Sewa itu masih itu.
So she said like even though they approached the administrators or the politicians, but they didn't get any justice. So they somehow formed an informal group and would write on the papers, present the people who have disappeared and post them on the walls around the police stations or the court. And she says this is the picture from the early 90s, from the early movement when it was not a formal structure, APDP was not yet built.
Patos, cara Shama Wikil, agora so sekarang bang hente sekarang hente bang sekarang apa bos juga kait dengan semua atau bos ada sesuatu terdekat bos akan dong dong memang bisa menghai karena boleh asal.
So, what Parveena ji used to do, during the initial phase of the movement, there was a newspaper called Al Safa, and who used to come up with a daily statistic of like who was killed today, who was disciplined today, or who was tortured today. She would cut that piece and she would like go to the address, go to the villages, go to wherever the address was. She would go there and tell them to join the movement, and so that we can collectively do something.
Satu spirit semangat itu kan, mengucap benar, mewasana, membantu sudah kalian, seperti mana kita lihat kota pada juntaran lagi. Pada tahun ini pada mana masih menggunakan, pada sekarang yang ini pada terus sekarang yang ini. Namun itu sama seperti itu sama, mana seperti seperti pada
She says like when they used to meet outside, but the police used to beat them up, and so she told the other members of the group that it's better if we go to her home where they used to gather twice a month, and then somebody from the group suggested that it's better if we go out. At least near where somebody can hear us. Like we meet at your home, but nobody listens to us. So it's better if we go out, people listen to us. So they went twice a month to a local park, which is in the center of the city.
So I was never allowed. Let the finance back in kind of file that to the religious. With that was right. What does Muslim 97 years that was 97 with finance and
She says, people would come to her home, she would provide them tea or sometimes lunch, whatever they felt like. And then she couldn't, cater to the needs of her own children, the other children, like they were very young, but she was like really focused on what she was doing at that time. She was like really giving her all time to the work she had chosen to do in search of her son. And for up till 1997, she was fighting a case in the local, in High Court when her case was sent for the sanctions. Here I would like to add what the sanctions are like. If you want to pursue like she had identified the people who had taken her son, and then and the court also before the persecution of the culprits, the court has to seek, because the AFSP gives the power, because in terms when it is for the security forces, when it deals with the security forces, the court has to get sanction from the central government, basically a permission if they can go ahead for persecuting this person, the culprit.
Can you just clarify for those of you who may not be aware of the context? So, the Armed Forces Special Powers Act is an emergency power that the state provides to its military forces to deal with emergency. Except in Kashmir context and other parts of northeastern India, but in Kashmir context in 1990, it has been imposed. It essentially implies that military forces, security forces, and anyone, including police, operating with the Indian military forces, have full impunity. So even if they're accused of torture, rape, killing, or anything else, even if there's evidence, like in her case there was clear evidence, they need permission from the central government to approve it. And so far, no permission has ever been granted.
Yeah.
Court has not been allowed to do. कोर्टस में से जांच दिया ना तो कोर्टस में इंसाफ दिस कहाँ पे दिस सेकेंड फॉर्म में नहीं उठाए उधर वो रिटायर होता तो फिर जाता सेकेंड फॉर्म आया उधर कुछ नहीं देता आया दम करके देखा पूरा फाइल देखा आपने सुना भी वो पढ़ा भी है ये सारी कौन के पास नहीं क्या अगर आप लोगों को चाहिए कि मन में डेड बॉडी अगर सही पार्टी नहीं क्या सालाशा ऐसे खतर फोर्सेस खतर चुना सीआरपी खतर डीएस खतर आर्मी कोई भी आइडेंटिटी टास्क फोर्स चलता उनके लिए कोई साधा नहीं.
She said since she didn't get any justice from the court or the judiciary, she didn't expect much from the State Human Rights Commission because after all these are retired judges who are adjusted in there by the government and they won't go against the government. And she says even though like people 1 lakh people have been martyred in Kashmir, they have grave, but you know for the enforced disappearance we have nothing of that sort. Like where will we go?
हाँ फिर ये source of answer बात ये मन विचार में फुकार रखवाले का नखत ये मन का देन नखत कि मन लाटे बात आज जो खान रसोई क्योंकि विचार पाने खान ला क्या तब आके नहीं सोचते तो नहीं स्वाद में पता है पानी बात वो कि मला तो पानी बात
So if I don't know if you are aware, there is a term called half-widow in Kashmir. The people who are the half-widows are the wives of the people who have been subjected to enforced disappearance. She says there are many half-widows in Kashmir who have sons, who have children, who have daughters. Like they have to cater to their needs, and you know they are grown up. They don't know like how to because unfortunately what happened was in most of the cases. People who were subjected to enforced disappearance were the main livelihood, providers for the family. She says what was left behind was the were half widows or elderly parents, and who are finding it difficult to survive.
Actually, kihin zorat, actually, panin bani. Yeah, I don't know that I said share it. And based on what person is not going to I said, not partner. What are the ones who understand? What are the ones who are and go worry? So you ask her, what about it? Cannot push for it. बदन पार करें 10 साल बेटी को रेप किया पहले माँ को किया बाद में बेटी को 10 साल बेटी को किया शिपियन करें तो देखो आज का कैसा क्या किया उठवा में वो जानवर भी नहीं कर सकते हो 4 आदमी ने क्या किया कैसा मारा मैं भी प्रोटेस्ट किया मेरे को भी जेल मारा मगर हक की लड़ाई है ये झूठी लड़ाई नहीं है हक की लड़ाई हम अपने बच्चों को वेट करेंगे फिर यही इंतवारी कर रही है यही कैप्शन भी बैठा है यही सब कुछ कर रही है यही बोलता है झूठ किसके पास जाएगा इंसान
she is saying that our struggle is about finding our people who have been disappeared, and she also talked about how things have worsened since Prime Minister Modi has been at the helm of the affairs. And she also talked about the rape, the recent rape which took place, rape and murder of a young 8-year-old Asifa in the Jammu region of Jammu and Kashmir, where an 8-year-old girl was raped because of her identity, because of her religion, because the people who did it wanted their community to be away from that place, and they wanted to basically throw them out from the place. And she also talked about the rapes which took place in the early 90s, which were committed by the Indian Armed Forces, basically the Kunam Pushpura rape, mother in Pine where a mother and a daughter was raped. The daughter was only 10 years old. And also, and Shippian double murder and rape, which took place in 2009.
Monthly protest करा दास्ता है, ये सुनता साफ कोई देखता है, फिर इस कान से सुनता है, इस कान से सुनता है, किसके पास है? उधर भी कोई हुकूमत, कहाँ की हुकूमत है कि बारह कोबला हुकूमत वो अपनी फॉर्म नहीं पूरा करता, और उजला की हुकूमत वो अपनी फॉर्म नहीं पूरा करता, किसी का दूध नहीं सुनता। फिर आ गया गुलाम नबी आज़ाद, वो भी ऐसा ही है। फिर आ गया महबूबा मुफ्ती का बाप, वो भी चोर गद्दार है। फिर आ गया इसकी बेटी, वो भी ऐसा ही चोर गद्दार है। क्या माँ? ये माँ नहीं है। प्रेस वाले आती इस वक्त, उसने पकड़ा कुर्सी, बोला ये माँ है, ये कुछ करेगा। मैंने बोला ये माँ नहीं है, माँ मैं हूँ। माँ यही रोई है। अभी देखा फायज अहमद बेग की माँ कितना रोई है, उसकी 2 ही बेटे हैं, किसी का 1 ही बेटा है, किसी का 4 बेटा गया, किसी का 3 बेटा गए, किसी का 1 ही है, कोई रखवाली करने के लिए बुढ़ी माँ बाप है, कौन करेगा रखवाली? पार्वना जी ने अल्लाह के साथ वादा किया, जब तक मैं जिंदा हूँ तब तक मैं रखवाली करूँगा सबका। हाफिज़ को पढ़ने को भी पढ़ाएगा, शादी करने को किसी को वो मैं भीख मांग कर लोगों को, तो मैं उनको फॉर्मेलिटी पूरा, ये मेरा रिश्ता बन गया, मेरा सारा रिश्ता टूट गया, अपना रिश्ता टूट गया, ये मेरा रिश्ता बन गया। पिछले महीने में हाफिज़ एक बेचारी मरी है, किसी गांव से, किसी का माँ मरा, किसी का बाप मरा, तो कोई नहीं रहा। पटना भी जिंदा है, नया जनरेशन है, इसके साथ ये जुल्म नहीं होना। ये गहरी चोट है कश्मीर में, अहम प्रॉब्लम।
In fact, going to do it in terms of startup. One thing she pointed out very crucially was that who would they go to? So, for instance, they are the perpetrators. They set up the commission, and they are the judges. So, in a way, the colonial system of India functions in Kashmir in a manner in which they have no recourse to justice. So, when people would say, "Why don't you seek justice?" Because India is a democracy, the answer they are providing, and they clearly evidence that there can be no justice in that system because the justice is only for the powerful, not for the victims. Now, various things they do is including monthly protests. So on 10th of every month, and then 30th of August because 30th August is the Internationally Against Human Enforced Disappearance. So they go to park, they protest, right? So they protest every time. But what she's saying is the government doesn't listen. So then she gave names of different chief ministers who were there. The reason some of us smiled at one time when she said the current prime minister, the chief minister, and the previous one, you could call them collaborator in chief rather than chief minister, by the way. They're traitors and thieves. The reality is when they're in opposition, they'll say pay lip service to pain of some of the people. But when they're in government, then they do nothing. So they go for protests, no one listens to them. And then she highlighted what kind of things she's doing and they can do. She says that while no one provides support from the top, there might be no justice in the system, but God is there, Allah is there. And she says in her own right that while she's struggling, and she might have to beg sometime, but she'll beg so long as she can take care of education, she can take care of livelihood, she can take care of medicine for a lot of people who, remember one thing, most or many victims of enforced disappearance are very poor. They come from very poor background. And once the main person, as Omaid pointed out, was they're the earner of livelihood. If they are disappeared, then they get even more poor. In that context, she has been there to provide help for everyone, and she tries her level best. She may not achieve everything, but she keeps trying. But one thing she says is that in this struggle, she has found herself, she has found people who can work together, and even if there's no justice in the system, she has some hope from people around her, I guess, and she means people around here, who can take the struggle forward.
कोर्ट में वकील बहुत मेहनत कर रही, पैसे नहीं मांगती केस के लिए, प्रेस भी बहुत सपोर्ट कर रही, कोर्ट में भी बहुत सपोर्ट मिला, प्रेस में भी आजकल का दिल्ली का वो टाटा इंस्टीट्यूट, हैदराबाद, यादवपुर यूनिवर्सिटी, लड़की लड़के बैठे आती हमारे पास इंटर्नशिप करने के लिए, हमको बहुत खुशी, वो खुद जाती घर घर तो देखती किसी हाफिज़ों के पास, किसी माँ के पास, किसी का भाई है, वो खुद देखती है ये झूठा नहीं है, ये सच की लड़ाई है। अगर मरा हुआ तो कम से कम डेड बॉडी मिला, आ गया इंसाफ मांगने का। मेरा पैर गल गया, कोर्ट में कोई इंसाफ नहीं मिला। हाँ, न पैसे की जरूरत है, न नौकरी की जरूरत है, खाली बेटे की जरूरत है। ऐसे बहुत सारे अपने बच्चों को हाफ लीटर है, सारा उम्र हो गई इसी के साथ, 30 साल लग गई, 30 साल हो गई। मेरा और बेटे हैं, मैंने उनको परवरिश दी। मैं सुबह निकलती घर से शाम को वापस आती, पड़ोसी के पास में बच्चे रखती। मेरी खुदा को मांग मांग कर एक बेटी लिया, वो भी बेचारी मैंने उधर छोड़ा। मगर मैंने बोला लोगों की खदमत करना है, बेचारी को कौन दुख दर्द समझेगा। मेरे पास भी दुख है, मैं इनका दुख समझ। ये जानवर भी नहीं करेगा, इतना जुल्म हिंदुस्तान ने हमारे साथ किया। मगर ये नया जनरेशन है, ये हमारी बेटी बाहर जाती है, इनको कोई सेफ्टी नहीं है। हम कश्मीर का लोग हैं, हम उधर कार्ड दिखाना है, फौज को कार्ड दिखाना, वो हम कश्मीर के रहने वाले हैं, वो हम किराएदार हैं, उधर वो फौज मालिक बन गए। उधर किसके पास जाएगा इंसाफ मांगने? आप ही लोग बोलो, किसके पास जाएगा? कोई गुंजाइश नहीं इंसाफ का।
Sorry, I don't know how much I can just summarize what she was trying to say. She started with talking about how students and activists from different parts of the world, from India and the rest of the world, come to our office and different human rights groups in Kashmir and see for themselves what is going on in Kashmir. Mostly what is projected by the media in India and rest of the world does not depict depict the ground situation in what is going on in Kashmir. I actually
I understand. I mean, as you can guess, I don't think we need to translate everything to get the pain part there. So, in terms of internship that she mentioned, and this is something I think you are welcome to consider, or people who would be welcome to consider, because in a way you could go from here, or people in India or elsewhere who could go and maybe work for a few weeks or stay some time with them, witness the life of various victims of this and how they struggle and how they are resilient also. So in that sense, they have various internship programs which ensures that it is not seen as, let's say, this is anti-Indian injustice, but it's not anti-Indian in terms of anti-Indian people. So that's what they were talking about. But she kept saying that they're not liars. Now, it's about truth, and she said her struggle is for truth. And the context of this, of course, is the fact that when she say my son has been disappeared, you can see the typical nationalist Indian would say, oh, but she must be lying, or she must be making it up. That's how systems function. So she said they're not lying, it's truth. And then she also says that they don't need money, they don't need compensation, because the state wants to give compensation and keep them quiet. They don't want money, they don't need jobs, they only want the child to be given back. So until unless that happens, the struggle will continue. And she herself talked of 30 years of struggle, and she gave examples of how she neglected her own children, including one daughter, Samurai. She neglected them, she could not take care of them, because for her the struggle was to take care of other people who are equally victimized and who may not even have others to take care of them. She said that she made personal sacrifice for them because what shared is shared pain. And then she talked of Zulm, which would be the oppression of India, and she says it's even worse than what animals could do. But new generation is coming, there's some hope, but even they have no safety. And one thing she says again is, in case of Kashmir, you are always ID'd. Right? Kashmir, in case you don't know, is the world's most militarized zone, more than 700,000 security forces. And our security forces don't exist to secure people. Security forces exist to secure the colonial system from the people.
She also points out we have gone with the non-judicial, we have used those means, whatever means we could use in India. But we have not been able to get any sort of justice in India. So where will we go? Where do we do? What do we do? Because we go to the courts, use whatever is, whatever is the normal course of action. When something happens, we go to the courts, we go to the SHRC, we, want our voices to be heard, but then nothing happens, nothing comes out of it. Not a single security person has been persecuted from the last 30 years, when it comes to Kashmir.
फिर टार्चर के साथ भी बहुत बातें खराब हो गई, वो किसी को याददाश्त हो गई, किसी को अबनॉर्मल हो गई। ये लड़की टैलेंट लगाया, उनको मैंने उनके साथ गई, मैंने उनके साथ वर्कशॉप किया, मैंने उनको समझाया, वो माँ बाप का बोझ बन गया। वो माँ बाप का रखवाली करेगा, वही माँ बाप है उनको रखवाली करेगा। वो बेचारी परेशान है, काम करेगा, कोई पढ़ता है तो वो क्या पढ़ेगा, उसको आंखों उठनी चाहिए। ये हिंदुस्तान का काम है, वो एजेंसी का क्या किया होगा।
So she says, she talks about the pellet guns which were introduced in the late 2010 in Kashmir to basically stop the anti-Indian protests in Kashmir. So she talks about how more than 600 people, Kashmiris have lost their vision in both their eyes. And she said they face mental, I think, she also says they face mental stress because of what is happening to them and how they are not able to work properly. And she also added about how these children, whether a son or a daughter, has become a burden for their family, for their parents, rather than becoming helping their parents, which we normally think that our children will help us in the later part of our year. And she ended up by saying that this is what India has done to us over the years.
In terms of pellet, again, some of you may be aware, many of you may not be, but India claims that use of pellet guns is non-lethal policing. It's part of non-lethal. Except it has led to people being killed, it has led to people being blinded, and she of course spoke specifically of children. And you can see why children would be more affected, because in general children are more curious if there's any firing by cops, and a number of these children have been injured while they have been inside the house, not outside, not protesting, right? They have been inside the house. So this is what happens, and this is how Indian state NSS consciously blinds people, tortures them, and puts them under pain. And she also mentioned the way in which, of course, she has not been only talking about her own individual pain or pain of people like her in terms of those who have been victimized by enforced disappearance, but also for people who have been victims of torture, people who have been victims of sexual violence, and people who have been victims of terrorist injury. Yeah. Now, on that, we'll open up to questions, comments, or any words of solidarity, or you know what they could do. Maybe you have some solution, but if you could keep it to 30 seconds or 1 minute, and so that she could answer. Who would like to start?
Thank you. Thank you very much for this film and your presentation. I think the film really showed very well for someone like me who is not very knowledgeable about the region, showed very well the process you have to go through. So, my very good film. A question, maybe a very dry question, but I was interested in the situation of the lawyers and to what extent lawyers who assist the family of disappeared, what kind of problems they encounter, and whether there's enough reservoir of lawyers in Kashmir that can assist in these kind of cases.
इच्छा बना कि मतलब मैं उस समझूं कि इन किसी लॉयर जो बासान मुझे उनका से कोई मुझे करना है ये ना इशू कुछ करना है जो बासान आपको ये इच्छा बना कि जो बासान अच्छी ठीक मतलब वाले करना
Senior lawyer actually doing that, like that's the best senior lawyer. I go down to फिर उन्होंने बहुत काम किया, बहुत मेहनत किया, मगर जज को ताकत नहीं है। अगर जज साहब को ताकत है पैसा देने के लिए बात नहीं, वो अपनी कुर्सी को पकड़ेगी, वो किसी को हाथ का पैसा नहीं देता, वो केवल बहुत मेहनत करेगी।
What she's saying is that actually there are quite a few lawyers and a lot of them have been working very hard. The problem is the judges, that judges are either weak or they are sellouts and therefore they don't give right judgments, and in case of the film we saw that even when they gave their judgments, nothing was affected. So she's essentially that lawyers are still there, it's more of the problem with judges.
Basically the system.
So first, no, you will please.
My name is Rohini. I'm a journalist based in India. My name is Rohini. I'm a journalist based in Bangalore, India, and I have covered the protests around the pellet injuries recently. So one of the things in the films that came out, और आप जब बात कर रहे थे उसमें भी आया था कि इतने पेपर जमा हो रहे हैं, you're collecting so many documents and papers, and in almost the entire film, the father was speaking, looking at papers and papers and papers, and in the end he said this is just a pile of useless papers. And she also alluded to that the same group that is collecting in records is the one that is committing atrocities, is the one that is calling you a liar and everything. So does she see a frustration among analysts there? What is the point of this documentation? I see the need, and as a journalist I also see the need to record key, but where does that go now? And I know that she wrote to Geneva and everything, but where does it go now from all this collected material?
इच्छा बना कि मतलब इस मतलब उसकी documents फाइलें जमा करनी अच्छी हुए तो but at the end of the day इच्छा बना आपको why is it possible मतलब इस documentation को कराया ये इस documentation कराया and क्या कोई
ये सबूत, अगर कोई मारा होगा तो ये सबूत रहा, मुझसे बोलता वो अच्छा नहीं है, कोई बोलता ही झूठ बोलता, यही बातें करेगा कागज, लेकिन साहब कुछ बोलेगा इस पर जज का ऑर्डर है, किसी का पुलिस का ऑर्डर है, FIR है, तो यही बातें करेगा, यही फैसला करेगा। कागज जरूरी होना चाहिए, इसके पास कागज नहीं है, फाइल के पास वो हम जमा कर रही है, FIR भी नहीं काटता, पहले FIR भी नहीं काटता, बोला 10,000 रुपये दे दो और कुछ खाने के लिए ला, हमारे पास FIR नहीं देगा। बहुत परेशानी मैंने उठाया अपने FIR के लिए। आज FIR बहुत मुश्किल से मिलता है, सिटी में मीडिया है, गांव में मीडिया नहीं है, उधर अगर आती है आर्मी वो डरती है, अगर मैं आपके साथ बात करूँगा तो शाम को आएगा मेरे को मारेगा। मैंने बोला कोई मैं आपके साथ है, सब लोग मैंने ऐसा ही जमा किया तो वो प्रोटेस्ट के बाद गुजर। कागज जरूरी है, मैं जिनवा गई 2008 में, मैंने 7 केस लिया उधर, मैंने मुझसे बोला बहुत, मगर मैंने 7 फाइलें दी, कोर्ट का भी सैंक्शन के लिए रोका, मैंने वो 7 फाइलें दी तो उनको कागज का सबूत है, जज का ऑर्डर है, वो कोई पुलिस का ऑर्डर है, FIR है, तो वो वही बात करेगा।
So basically she is pointing out that it is an evidence, the documents are the evidence, the only thing we have, you know? So that like if we want, it is very difficult because I must point out that fact that in the early 90s, which she also mentioned, in the early 90s it was very difficult to file an FIR in Kashmir, and in fact there was a direction from the General Administrative Department of the Jammu and Kashmir's government, which directed every police station that no FIR will be filed, no FIR against the Indian Armed Forces should be filed. And in those circumstances, some people actually went ahead, after that, because there was a hue and cry about that statement. And after a point of time, FIRs were allowed. But in the peripheries, in the village sites, which Parveena ji also mentioned, it was still very difficult to file an FIR. If somebody would actually go ahead and file an FIR, there was, the army or the state police would come to their homes and threaten them, and actually beat them up. And so even after some people, it's people who have been subjected to enforced disappearance, some people have filed FIRs after 10 years, some have filed after 15 years. So they are actually collecting documents, which Parveena ji also says, because in 2008 she went to the working group meeting in Geneva, where she went with the documents. She says, even though I spoke a lot, but the papers which I presented only talk there. It's not what I said. So it's important that we, basically she talks about, even though we have exhausted the domestic legal, procedures, but she is looking beyond that. She is looking at maybe how we can approach the international, systems.
Thank you. Ever, you had
Yes, I had this couple of questions. One thing I wondered was, does ordinary, does the system work satisfactory with ordinary crimes? Like theft and violence or whatever, that clearly does not have any political aspect. Does it work for ordinary citizens?
The one the army is involved, that was that's what Basa damage to coordination and
Inside the Kamasin book that has one. Then you should know the video, then you can respect it, then you can use it if you want to tell you should.
No, issue like a normal crime, like a soul, yeah, can't you to
Police take us off, you want to Rafa carry my reaction. That she can Rafa came on about it. Go to police and keep us not. That's not a quarter, no, that's not case for Patraman, they didn't go to the Captain.
She says it's not a much of a problem in that way, because they take money and settle it down on it, and even if they go to the courts after a point of time, it's settled there.
So the idea difference would be it's a highly corrupt system, but through corruption and through bribery you can get to what you want. But in this case, with everything you're not going to get
She
this.
says when the government informers or somebody associated with the government is killed, they get money, they get jobs, but when it comes to the military, they back out.
Thank you for speaking.
The thing is, getting justice within India, within the domestic laws of India, is obviously not so easy, and pretty much all that is happening in Kashmir is an international situation of conflict and humanitarian law. Now, in order to get justice and a solution to this, we need to get the attention of the international organizations like United Nations and ICC and have a conversation going on in that. But there is sort of a frustrating silence in terms of recognizing what happens in Kashmir and the situation in Kashmir. Say, for example, we know about what happens in Palestine or what happens in other parts like that, or say in Afghanistan even, we know about what happened, but not many people want to even discuss. Obviously, it's been a long time since the General Assembly discussed Kashmir or any pertinent conversation other than the ones amongst us talking about Kashmir. So how do we really break that silence and begin a conversation about this?
I realize this is a wider question, I guess, for all of us rather than for her, isn't it? I mean, but we'll translate for her, I mean, and we could ask her in terms of what does she expect maybe from the outside world.
Yes.
ये कह रही थी कि
So इसी वाला कि मतलब अब नेक्स्ट बार कि revolution so basically या मतलब good policies अगर जो वायरल वाला काफी वाला यहाँ से वायरल मगर मुझे बात आनी किसी मतलब इस मसला इसी वाला कि ताकि शो बासान कि इसके जैसे छाप चीज़ को करे good type की मामला हो
İşine
Bir de şey var ki-
yani ayrılıyor. Aslında ki mesela bana bir şey yaptı. Baklayın sonra ağladı. Yüzümün başına konuşuyor. Ya ऐसे वो भी गहरी सोच किसी के साथ होना चाहिए नया जनरेशन इसके साथ नहीं होना चाहिए ये आगे बढ़ना है अगर ये तक ये इतना करती हूँ मानूंगे ही नहीं चलना उसको फिर मैं क्या करूँ आप सिर्फ ताकि होना
She says like she points out like how this is what I am doing here, reaching out to you, you are listening to what I am saying, and you will tell other people what is happening in Kashmir. So this is how like basically she meant like people like her come here and the other parts of the world listen to them, and that's how the message spreads.
Fine, and just okay, two, and that's it. Because we'll be running late. Please. First in English for others and then in Kashmiri for others.
Thank you so much, Mother, for narrating that. Very heartbreaking. I just have two questions. I know you're a mother, you're a woman, and you're from Kashmir. How do you do it every day? There is no support there. I know it's really hard. And I compare it, keep on comparing because I work here with women. And it's amazing. And do you get support there? I know there is no support from the government at all as well. It must be like as a woman yourself, it's a struggle within a struggle. No one you keep more shukriya wari saying bonus. You keep project done more karam. Zara kotushun asan wari ya komas mein slogan. Shukriya.
मैं अपने बेटे के लिए नहीं कर रहा इस काबू के लिए कर रहा ये नए डायरेक्टर उधर ये बेचारे सेफ नहीं है तूने देखा पैरट के साथ क्या किया अगर किसी को हॉस्पिटल में एडमिट कर रहा फिर उधर दूसरा नाम लिखना है फिनिश कर आएगा एक तरफ मारा दूसरी तरफ वो पकड़ लेगा इसलिए ये जुल्म किसी की जगह कोई हिंदू या मुस्लिम है सिख है ईसाई है कोई है ये गहरी टोट है किसी के साथ ना होने हमारे साथ सरदार बैठा किए थे मैं उसकी माँ को बहुत रखा मगर हिंदुस्तानी सारा काम कश्मीर के लोग से कश्मीर जन्नत है वो बन गया जन्नत
Itu mana कि मतलब पेट और से mana कि सिस्टम कुछ को आप सनाज ये हालात में खास वायरल वाला मुश्किल हालात सनाज का पर्टिकुलरली ग्रो पेट mana कि कुछ का मन से मन हालात में कुछ का ताकि कम सब टच करने वाला सब कुछ
Foreign support, you are trained. It will be foreign support. Kashmir manzi foreign support. Just because I'm going to battle country, because I can't, because I can't have a concern, I can't get it. You want Khadayan, that's all you should do possible. If you want, you want Khadayan. But student, doctor, press through. If you say, I say, protesters, you want, his family, you want gas. वारिया मुझे क्या जो नहीं जाने लगा अगर ये कागज तो हम आज हम खबर कर देंगे मुझे कागज तो में साथ साथ में जान हमारे घर में तो गाँव में थोड़ा बहुत था जिस ये मेरी नु ब्याह लड़का एक इसको टार्चर कर प्रोब से अड़चो कर ब्याह को के तो ना इंग्लिश बैठ
she said that she gets the support from the local community. Like if you have, in our some of the members, if they are getting married, she asks people around, the doctors or the people from the academia or the students or press. She asks them and they provide help. They help the families get, in some sort they help the families to perform the marriage. And she also said
that earlier she was also talking that this struggle is not only for her son. She said, this is not for my son only, in fact. And even in the past when we have asked her that is it about your son, she said no, it is about my son, but it's not only about my son, it's a collective struggle. And she said that regardless of whether one is Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, he says a Hindu, Muslim, Christian or Sikh or whatever, she will support them. Those who have suffered from injustice, she will support them. And she said how Kashmir has been converted by Indian occupation from being a heaven to hell. And one thing she keeps mentioning of that how her suffering is of a deep wound. It's not the right translation, but like gehri chot, so it's like deep wound. We don't have time actually, so because we are anyway, we can ask during the break if you don't mind. But only I would want her to have the last word, sir. In terms of if you could give some message to us here, like I know you want us to carry on your word and everything, but more than that, what is the message you will give to us?
So in Kashmir, message
आपको हमारे पास ना होना करना वाला लेकिन देर को कोई नहीं मालूम थे हिंदुस्तान से क्या का हिंदुस्तान क्या कोई तो कोर्स क्या कोई कश्मीरी पुलिस भी सेवादार भी हर किसी ने हमारे साथ क्या किया एक कहने पर हमारा हुआ कि आप सब बड़ी इंसान और इंसान पता उधर भी कोई इंसान नहीं स्टेट ह्यूमन राइट्स वाले नेता वहाँ पे हमको क्या करना लाख रुपए की जरूरत नहीं, बेटे को लाख रुपए की कीमत नहीं है। माँ का एक आश है, मेरा बेटा बड़ा हो गया, वो पढ़ा लिखा है, ये मेरा रखवाली करेगा, मेरे को कंधे देगा, मेरा माल गुजार पर खाते पानी वही छीना तो क्या करेगा लाख रुपए? इसलिए आप हमारे साथ शेयर करो, आगे बढ़ो और बोलो हिंदुस्तान का मीडिया है वो झूठा है, सोशल मीडिया वो झूठा है, उधर देता एक हालत, दिल्ली में दिखाता दूसरी हालत, उधर बोलता एक बात, उधर रोती हमारे साथ, सुनता रोती है, बाद में बोलता ये एक्टो बन गई, ये एक्टो नहीं है, मेरे पास दर्द है, ऐसा दर्द सब बोले।
The message she has is you highlight what is happening in Kashmir through, she mentioned Facebook, basically meaning social media or anything you can do to highlight what is happening in Kashmir. She also talked about how the development force, the families didn't get any justice from the State Human Rights Commission, and how they try to bribe people with giving them 100,000 rupees. And she says like our sons are not like worth money, we want our sons back. We are not selling them for 1 lakh rupees.
In fact, to just carry on, and she had talked of this earlier, I asked similar kind of question from Salis for this is in terms of that her struggle is not only for what happened to her son, though she keeps saying that bring our son back, and it's very important that it has to be held accountable, the state. But she talks of sharing the story, so that's what people do, share the story and take it forward. It's not sharing is not enough, but it's taking it forward. Now how to take it forward in your own capacity? If you're a student, you could maybe research around it, study around it. If you have the possibility of going to Kashmir, go and speak to them, speak to other victims, speak to other organizations, witness their experience, be with them, have some solidarity with them. Because one thing that we we can do is, of course, is understand. Understand doesn't imply that we speak for them, not at all. We are not there to speak for them. They will speak for themselves. We are not even there to empower them. That's not our role. Our role is actually to listen, and it's those of us who share identity, like the Indian identity in this context, it's even more crucial that we unlearn or we learn about what kind of things in our name things have happened and unlearn those things. And just remember that this is a struggle for justice. This is a real pain, and she keeps using the word real pain because, of course, you do know that there will be massive propaganda in media, Indian media, and also in other forms where the pain and suffering of individual and collective Kashmiris would be always portrayed in a manner in which it would be seen as not so real. So that's a bigger struggle where, in a sense, we could help her out. On that note, let me thank you all for being. Let me thank Parveena ji. आपको शुक्रिया Parveena ji. ये मैं बोल रहा था.